thanks for joining. My name is Annie Heath. I'm the founder of Ida Blooms. You may already know about my company, and probably that means that we've met in person, so hey, great to see you again. For those of you who don't, what I love to do with Ida Blooms, and my favorite thing about my job, is sharing what I call the power of flowers with everyone that I encounter. And usually that's in the form of some kind of DIY. I really like people to kind of work with flowers and see for themselves how beneficial they are, how therapeutic they are, how meditative they can be, how they bring joy to yourself and to everybody who's around you. When you give them to someone, they can't help but smile. When you see them, it brightens your day. Like, I just love flowers, and they've done so much good in my life that I want to share it with all of you. So that being said, today we're going to walk through how to make a handheld bouquet. Handheld bouquets are great for when you're like going to your neighbor's house and need to pass off a gift. When you go to Trader Joe's and pick up something and want to put it together for your centerpiece table, like a table centerpiece. And they're also great for weddings. So for a bridesmaid bouquet walking down the aisle, or even a bridal bouquet. So we'll see what size our bouquet ends up being. I'm thinking it'll probably be the size of a bridesmaid bouquet, but it very well could be the size of a bridal bouquet as well, because we're working with a lot of pretty flowers. Either way, at the end of the day today, I'm going to show you how to tie it off and finish it off as if it were a wedding, and you'll be ready to walk down the aisle. I did put in some thought when I was picking out these flowers, so let me quickly show you what we have here and what they would qualify, in my opinion, as a thriller, a filler, or a spiller. So when you're creating a bouquet, those are the three different things you need, and I'm going to walk you through what we have and which one qualifies as each. So we'll start with your thriller flowers. Your thriller flowers are going to be your most well-known flower. So it's something that has it usually has a really large surface area. It's your things that you know the name of. So like your peonies, your roses, your sunflowers, your dahlias. Most people know what the flower is. It's beautiful, it's big, it's probably expensive. So we're actually going to work today with peonies. Let me get a couple out for you to show you what they look like. So this is our peony, and these peonies are going to be the showstoppers in our bouquet. We're also working with this amazing protea, and this is called Banksia protea, and it's really cool. I kind of feel like it's going to add a nice, really cool factor to our bouquet. So those are our thrillers. We're going to have our peonies and our protea. We're working with three different kinds of filler flowers today. The filler flower in your bouquet is going to be the flowers that add a nice bit of volume to your bouquet. They're usually a little bit cheaper. You might not always know what the names of it are going to be, but they're going to complement the thriller flower and be able to like really fill out your bouquet, thus the name. So we're working with this is called freesia. And it's like a beautiful white flower that's going to really complement our peonies. We're also working with a really, really lovely butterfly ranunculus. So here you can see it. This is nice and large as far as the surface area of the petals go, even though they're quite fragile. It's going to really add in a lot of beautiful color, and volume into our bouquet. And the last one that we're working with is called a hellebore. This is a green hellebore. Here we go. And I think I chose this one because I feel like it has a nice whimsical feel to it. And even though it is green, I still think it's going to add some really nice texture and height into our bouquet. So the last piece that we're working with is called a spiller. Spillers are the stems that are going to add some nice volume and drama to your bouquet. So think about it as adding height, like really reaching off over the top. And actually some of our filler flowers are going to do that as well. Specifically this hellebore, I can picture adding in some nice height, and the ranunculus is going to add some drama as well. But your spillers are the ones that are really going to like drape off the side of your bouquet beautifully. That's the name of a spiller. So we're working with today, these are the seeds from a seeded eucalyptus. which is, can't you just picture it now? It's gonna add some like really beautiful like side drama to our bouquet. And then we're also working with this mini pterosaurus. Doesn't that sound like a dinosaur? But this is gonna be able to add a lot of height. See, look how high that is going. So those are the flowers that we're going to be using today to make our bouquet. Let's get started on processing. Step one of making any kind of floral arrangement at all is to process your stems. And to process your stems really just means editing them into their most beautiful and usable form. So let's go ahead and start with some of our peonies here. So what I like to do is definitely remove the extra leaves that are going to be distracting from the bloom. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these off and just kind of toss them into the compost. And see here now, compared to this peony, it's very much more usable and you are only looking at the bloom. So that's what I'm going to do ahead of time for every single bloom that I have in every single stem. So I'm just running through and going to go ahead and remove all of these leaves that I don't want. You want to go from the middle of the stem or even up until 2/3 of the stem down, because it's very important that there are no leaves left on any part of the stem that's going to be exposed to water at any point. So like if you put it in a vase or if someone is holding it, it's much easier to hold with no leaves than it is with leaves. And this is what we call being naked below the water line. All right, so I just finished processing all of my flowers. I spared you all of the time because that would have been boring. But now I'm going to go ahead and start arranging the bouquet. First thing to do is to take your thriller flowers, and I like to take 3 at a time. I usually work in odd numbers for thrillers, and actually for most flowers. And I'm going to just hold 3 lightly in my hand, 3 of my peonies. And it's kind of going to be in a soft triangle, as you can see here. And I just like to do that so that it's like from the bat you're starting off with a little bit of dimension. So I'm going to hold those lightly in my hand. Now I'm going to start adding in some of my filler flowers. So I'm going to add in some of this hellebore. And I'm just going to kind of place it in throughout the bouquet, complementing the peonies and putting it at different heights and different levels. Spreading out the peonies, pulling it up, adding in another peony over here because I feel like this little bud is going to be beautiful in a little bit, but right now it is just a little hard to see, so I'm going to add in another one of these really big peonies. And I like to build my bouquets out so that they're a little bit wider. So I'm still already from the start, I'm going to start building that out by kind of like crossing over my stems on top of one on top of the other. So now I'm adding in some of my really beautiful white ones. And again, here I'm adding it at a different height. And from this point on, you're just kind of adding in the flowers as you feel like they're going to fit. So I'm going to add in some of my spillers now to add in, oh, look at that, that's really beautiful. I feel like we need something over here. Maybe it's time for my first butterfly ranunculus. I really like that. It's beautiful. And it's really important as you're building your bouquet to turn it around to make sure that you're seeing it from every angle. So I just kind of flattened out my stems into a triangle because this is how I'm going to be holding the bouquet, and this is the way I want to remember to build it. I'm adding in some more ranunculus now. I think we need our last peony that we have. Needs to be over here because we're definitely missing some thrillers on this side now. There we go. But I like the way this green guy is framing it. So I'm going to add some more of that in. It's kind of like collage making, if you've ever made a collage. Actually, when I was a little girl, I used to tell my parents, and actually I guess I wasn't that little to be honest, but I used to tell my parents that I wanted to be a professional collage maker, and they informed me there was no market for that, and I was devastated, of course. But little did we know that, sure enough, working with flowers is a form of collage making. Fancy that. So I'm just gonna go through and continue adding in my flowers. I'll go ahead and fast forward this. So now that I have tied off my twine, the next step is to cut all of your stems so that they're at the same length. This point, what I do is at the nape of my neck of the bouquet, I put my hands like this, as if I was walking down the aisle with my bouquet. The bottom of my second hand is where I'm gonna cut everything to the same length. So I'll take out my shears. One moment, please. And again, I'm just gonna flip the entire thing over, see where my cut was, and I usually identify it based on one piece of the stem. So I'm gonna cut everything at this length right here. And then you, one at a time, and go through and cut every stem so it's at an angle, and they're all at the same length. From here, this is a perfectly fine bouquet. This is something that you could now give off to a friend and be completely done. If, however, you're wanting to use this for a bridal bouquet or bridesmaid bouquet, then we have a few more steps. We're gonna just tie it off with some floral tape and then add the ribbon. So I'm gonna show you how to do that really fast. So the first thing that we're gonna wanna do is go ahead and cut off our little excess string here, so it's just the knot. I don't wanna have any extra little handles. Let me just clear some of this away so we have a clear working area. Floral arranging is messy. Okay, so I just cut those off. Now what I'm going to do, this is kind of off at the side, is take my floral tape, this is your floral tape, and we're gonna go ahead and activate our tape by cutting off. I'm gonna pull off a little piece here. And to activate it just means that you're gonna slightly pull it. It changes the color. Maybe you can see it here a little better. See here we have an activated piece and a non-activated piece. Pulling it the color, that changes the color and also makes it a little sticky. So you gotta remember to activate your floral tape. And then I'm just gonna start wrapping it around. I wanna be able to provide a handle for my bridesmaids or for whoever is holding it. I'm gonna just cover up my tie, my twine, and I'm just wrapping the tape around. Since I activated it, it's going to be able to stick to itself. I'm just gonna go nice and tight, wrapping it around. And if it breaks, that's fine because it's sticky, so you're just gonna go ahead and be able to start right where you left off. stick it to itself. And start wrapping it around more. And you're gonna do this until you have a nice handle. Remember to activate it as you're pulling it up. Next, we're going to go ahead and add the ribbon. All right, so step one is just to create a little base for it. You're going to just go right over the top of the tape. Make sure you cover all of the tape. And I'm just going to cover it with my ribbon in a nice, beautiful flat lay. Because no bride wants to hold tape on her wedding day. Once you've gone all the way around, you can cut a little angle here. I'm going to cut it at an angle so it's kind of pretty. And that's where our pins are going to come in handy now. In a straight line up the top, I'm just going to pin the ribbon straight through the tape and into the bouquet, like this. Actually, we only need one. If it was a larger bouquet, we would maybe have to go all the way up, but our ribbon is going to hold just fine. So this is what you would stop, this is where you'd stop for a bridesmaid. For a bride, however, our last step is to add what I like to call the tail of the bouquet, and you've seen these streaming off of a bride. That's just a really long bow, so I'm just going to cut a really long piece of ribbon. So I just cut my extra long ribbon. I'm going to go back over my handle and just tie over my pin into a knot or a bow. I usually do a knot so that I can't see my pin now. I'm gonna add my knot. And voila. All right, guys, that is your handheld bouquet. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. Make sure that you tag me in any kind of projects that you do, anytime that you try it. I would love to see it. My hashtag is IdaBlooms, IDABLOOMS, and that is also my Instagram handle. So please enjoy all of the flowers that are going to be coming into your life, and flower on, flower people.